Welcome to this edition of Simsbury School News. My name is Dominique Avery. There are 380 teachers in the Simsbury school system. According to many, they're among the best group of teachers in the entire state. Today, my guests are the best of the best. Joining me are three Simsbury educators who've been singled out as tops in the entire school system. They are Matt Spector, a special education teacher at Simsbury High School, who the Chamber of Commerce honored last May as the Simsbury Educator of the Year. Among other things, Matt is a coach for multiple unified sports teams, which has resulted in Simsbury being defined as a model program. Colleen Thompson, a choral teacher at Simsbury High School, was named Simsbury Teacher of the Year at the convocation at the school year opening day event for teachers. And if you haven't been to a choral concert lately, you've been missing out. And finally, Paula Atherton is here. She's a special education paraeducator at Tarryfell Elementary School who was recently honored as Simsbury's Paraeducator of the Year and will attend a state ceremony later this month. I'm delighted that they've joined me here today so that all the residents of Simsbury can have a chance to get to know them up close and personal, not just their students and colleagues. Thank you for joining me. I'm so delighted that you're here, and I'm going to start out by giving people a chance to get to know a little bit about your background by asking you how you got into the teaching profession in the first place and what made you want to be a teacher. So, Matt, let me start with you. Number one, how long have you been teaching, and did you always want to be a teacher, or did you come at teaching because you want to work with special education kids?
Yep, so this is my 6th year doing this, and I actually knew when I was in high school that I wanted to become a special education teacher. I had some relatives that had disabilities, so I was always kind of known of students working up through those ages of having a disability. And then I did Special Olympics when I was in high school, and I've been doing it ever since. So I knew since I was in high school, and I absolutely love it and wouldn't change it for the world.
So have you always taught in Simsbury?
Yep, this is my first job, and the best job.
Colleen, let me turn to you. I want to know what made you want to be a teacher, and I've heard you sing very well indeed, which makes me wonder whether you're a musician first, or did you always want to be a teacher?
Well, I've always been drawn to teaching, but I've always been drawn to music. So the fact that there's a career that combines both is pretty great. I started singing when I was really young, and had some really great teachers. And by the time I was in high school, I knew I wanted to pursue voice in college. And I started talking to my choir teacher about, career options, and he gave me an opportunity to conduct my high school choir, and I absolutely loved it, and so I decided to pursue it. But I still sing, and I have been active with choirs and, sang some opera in my past, so I really am kind of interested in both and really want to continue pursuing both.
Paula, your turn. What drew you to special education, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, I've been doing it, I think it's now 15 years. 4 here, and I came from Newton, Massachusetts, and I did the 11 there. What drew me? Well, I was in banking prior to special ed.
Interesting.
Yes.
The paraeducator last year had a career earlier.
Yeah. Yes. And I had 2 small children with special needs. I was very involved in their preschool and was asked one time if I could fill in for someone that was on leave. And I assisted and found out that that was my niche, that I was able to learn from the children and other professionals with my kids, and I could give back knowing what I experienced as well.
So before I go on to the next question, Colleen, I forgot to ask you, have you taught elsewhere? Have you always been in Simsbury?
I'm from Pittsburgh, but I went to college in Cleveland, Ohio. So I taught for 2 years in Olmsted Falls, which is right outside of Cleveland. Then I taught for a year in a suburb of Atlanta. And then I went to West Hartford and taught there for 5 years. So this is my 4th town and 3rd state.
That's quite a variety.
I'm stuck here now.
So you're sort of, each one of you have had some just slightly different paths. You came here first, right?
Yep.
You've been one other place, and you've been several
Yes.
other places.
Yes.
Matt, when you were announced as the Simsbury Chamber Educator of the Year, they said, quote, "From the moment you stepped foot into the high school, you were all in every day for every student." What did they mean by that?
I give it 110%, and I know that these students deserve anything and everything that they want. So I go out of my way to ensure that students can reach high academic standards, social standards, and can go off to college or do whatever they want beyond high school. So I give them everything I can possibly think of.
Colleen, I'd heard so many things about you that last winter I went to a choral concert myself, and it was the first I'd been to since my daughter was in high school and graduated from Simsbury High School, and she'd been singing in the high school. And I found the singing was beautiful, but I have to say what struck me most was the atmosphere among the students. I think I describe it as an infectious exuberance. And as I watched, it occurred to me that must come from you and your philosophy about of teaching. So could you tell us a little bit about how you do that?
Absolutely. I really want my program to be as inclusive as possible, and I want the students to enjoy what they're doing. I don't want it to be a stereotype of a typical choir kid, but students who we can all grow together, we can all learn together, and I want students to enjoy each other's company while we make music together. It really is, quite a human experience of making music together, and I enjoy it. I love it. I actually usually get excited when it's Monday and I get to come to work and do this job. So I think I'm able to authentically portray that to the kids, and then we just play off of each other, and we really enjoy ourselves.
So would you agree with authentic what did I say? Infectious exuberance.
I think so, yes. You do have to try to scale it back sometimes, but the students are very supportive of each other, and they really do enjoy hearing all levels of students perform. So absolutely.
So I was struck by how many different groups there are. How many? I mean, it's huge, right?
Yes, they're divided into 5 different school day choirs, and they all do their own repertoire. Sometimes we'll combine to do a special work or to make a larger choir. And then there are 3 different student-led a cappella groups. And what I love about those groups is that I do absolutely nothing except guide them in preparing for the concert, just to the point where they know when they're rehearsing, and sometimes I'm even surprised at how well they've rehearsed on their own. So yeah, there are usually 8 different groups performing, 5 teacher-led and 3 student-led in every concert.
And so it's actually quite incredible when you go. Paula, can we take a step back? And you've been named as Paraeducator of the Year for Simsbury. Can you explain what a paraeducator is, and what did it used to be called?
Okay, well, I don't know what it used to be called in Simsbury. In Newton, it was a paraprofessional or a special education assistant.
I think it was called the same here.
It was the same here. And, well, let's see, I guess the role is providing resources and guidance to sometimes one child, other times multiple children, and communicating with the teacher about the guidelines, working with the special ed teacher as well, and so across, just like you said, across the social piece, the academics, but yet still striving for independence, always having that in the back of your mind that you would love to see that child be independent. I think that's kind of in a nutshell.
So I saw you described as a behavior coach. So what does that mean?
Well, I just took on that role this year, and it's still in the process at Terriffill School that I work. But it's whenever there's a child in the school, whether it's in kindergarten or in 6th grade, if that child is having any kind of difficulty or struggle that the teacher deems needing more help, then I'm usually called to help facilitate and try and bring the child back to the classroom and ready to learn.
So does that mean it's not just special education kids? That means all kids?
Exactly.
Okay, so you have a kid who's maybe having some problems at home and is having outbursts, or is fighting, or is bullying, or is being bullied. That's the kind of thing you're handling?
Right. It's across the whole school.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It is very.
I mean, and I think, as a former school teacher, I think very necessary. I know there's a lot more. There's a lot more help now than there used to be when I was a teacher, but I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Matt, you seem to work mostly with students on the autism spectrum. Have you, in thinking about this, do you have a theory on about autism and what causes it, and is there more of it, or have our ways of diagnosing changed? What do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. All I really know is kind of tools and strategies to help students who have it. I'm not entirely sure the research behind how it's diagnosed or genetically how it comes across, but it's the supports. That's what I know very well, and how to support each student individually. Also, whether they have it or they don't, because I have students with a range of disabilities, not just autism. So kind of getting to know the tools and strategies for student A and student B, that's what's crucial.
So just describe where you work. I mean, you're a high school teacher. Do you have a room of your own, or?
Yep, so I have a resource room. So students, the great thing about Simsbury High School is it's very inclusive. So students go out everywhere they want to go, and there's really no boundaries for anybody. So my students, they go out to all their general ed classes, and they come back to me, whether it's 1 period a day or 2 periods a day, to kind of get study skills strategies on how to write essays, how to do research, how to write a paper, and those kind of things to help them build upon their independence. So that way, hopefully, by senior year, they don't need me nearly as much as they did freshman year.
So do the teachers also come to you for tips?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I spend a lot of my days as well meeting with teachers and discussing strategies that they can implement in the classroom, so that way the students can stay there as long as they can without having to come out to me.
So, Colleen, you're working with some of the same kids, right? You're very inclusive. So, do you deal with Matt? I mean,
absolutely,
you know each other?
yes.
Oh, yes.
We know each other well, and we have. I get to see the kids for all 4 years, and so does Matt. So, we've developed a relationship in terms of sometimes talking year after year about the same students and how to progress them in the program, and lots of strategies. We collaborate a lot.
So to stay with you for a minute,
Sure.
in your speech accepting the award as Simsbury Teacher of the Year, you said that you were quoted as saying, Simsbury students not only excel academically, but possess real strength of character. Mm. To what do you attribute that?
Well, I think back when I was in school, and I think we all do. I really think that the way that we approach students with special needs and how inclusive we are, just as a school system in general from the very beginning, is a real strength and improvement on how we used to do things. So, our typical students are used to having students with varying degrees of special needs in all of their classes. But I think the programs that we have in Simsbury, especially like Best Buddies, like Unified Sports, we have Unified Wellness now, and I think the music classes and the arts classes where the students really get to work together, I think that's really important. And I do think that we empower our typical students to really get involved and form authentic relationships and friendships with their special needs peers, and that's something that we continue to build upon. And I'm always excited to see to what extent our students in Simsbury are able to form those friendships and partnerships with all different types of students.
So now you mentioned from your experience in school, but you've also been in 4 different school systems. So do we do it better?
I think so. And I think that, like I said, I think some of the programs like Unified Theater, Best Buddies, Unified Sports, I feel like they're much better developed here in Simsbury, and we really do a good job of really promoting those special programs throughout the district. And, you know, I really do see that students interact outside of school. And, you know, I think we just have a special community in Simsbury that accepts students of, you know, where they are and helps them all get better. I really love working here and love the inclusive nature of how we are.
Paula, you've been in 2 different school systems. You have children. What do you think? You think is it better here than it was in Newton? Different?
It's different.
I think different is the word I should have used too. Yeah, I think everywhere is different.
It's different, and but I think the work ethics of Simsbury and the drive of at least Terriffill School is exceptional. And I think everyone is trying to give that 110%. It's a community. So I think the schools in Newton were larger, too. So that impacted somewhat. But so there's, it's apples and oranges, but, you know, I think this community is wonderful and very committed, parents as well as the educators.
Yeah, I think a lot of school systems are not happy if Simsbury, because it has such a good reputation for special education, attracts a lot of families with kids with special education needs. One of the reasons we moved here is my daughter was dyslexic, and there was a much better program here than there was in the school system where we came from. So, Matt, let me hear a little bit more about unified sports, which I mentioned in the beginning.
Yep.
And Colleen just mentioned it as well.
So I didn't start the program. It's been going on for well before I came, but I started working in it 4 years ago. And at that point, we really only had a soccer team, a basketball team, and a track and field team. Since then, we have grown. I can't even give an amount of number that we've grown by, but we've added 3 basketball teams to our programming. At least 2 soccer teams. We've also added a flag football team this year. We added volleyball 2 years ago, and we have 2 volleyball teams. And then our track program is just exponentially bigger.
So for people who don't know, can you explain what unified sports is?
Yep. So unified sports is an opportunity for students with and without disabilities to play in competitive gaming or sports together against other schools. So for example, our basketball team. It's students with and without disabilities, and we had a 10-game season, and we went all across the state. We went to Norwich, we went to Windsor, we played our final game at Mohegan Sun. We also went to Quinnipiac. So we just play all around against schools that have very similar programs as we do.
So Simsbury High School has a basketball team, and then they have a unified basketball team.
Yes.
Right. So does that also give an opportunity to kids who are not good enough to be on the basketball team to play? I mean, it sounds to me like that's one of the reasons it might be so successful, because the kids don't have to be sort of top drawer.
We give everybody a chance. We don't have tryouts per se. We call them tryouts, but we place them on levels. So we have a level for every single person. So for basketball, we have a very competitive level to a skill-based level. So anybody who wants to play can absolutely play.
So let me throw out something. Teachers are rarely singled out, and in this case, Simsbury ends up singling out 3 teachers every year. Could you each tell me what your reaction was to being singled out, and or why the recognition was important to you, or how it made you feel?
It was an honor, but I feel I have experience being up in front of people as a conductor. Preparing the speech for convocation was one of the hardest things I've done as an educator, because, you know, we're not used to accepting recognition in that way, and I was a little uncomfortable with just the fact that it was called Teacher of the Year. You know, that's a hard award to accept. When I looked out at all of the amazing educators, many of them were mentors to me and still are. So, you know, it took me a while to really find the words to expressed what I wanted to express at convocation, so that it didn't feel like it was just an award for me, but a way for us to reflect collectively on the way that we educate.
Paula?
Well, I was surprised and happy at the same time. To me, the honor is with all my coworkers, because we do interact a lot and help each other and give suggestions and all this feedback. And I think that I feel like it's for all of us and not just for me. So I was excited and a little nervous about this, because I generally, most people would think I'm an outgoing person, but not so much on camera.
So Matt, I'm gonna switch this around a little bit. The Simsbury Teacher of the Year honoree traditionally receives some money, $1,200 in professional development funds, and also an additional sum from the McGowan Fund. So that the honoree can attend a national conference. Have you decided what you're going to do?
Oh, that would be...
That would be you. Sorry, that would be you.
No, that's
sorry.
Okay. Yes.
I just got confused.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. I'm planning to go to the American Choral Directors Association Eastern Division Conference in Pittsburgh. And what's so special about that conference to me is I'm from Pittsburgh. So to be able to go, and I don't know if I'll see any colleagues that I grew up with, but that would be wonderful. It's one of my favorite conferences because it just has top-notch choirs and really amazing presenters that will, and I can bring ideas back directly to the students. And we often audition for festivals and conferences like that. So I hope to be able to send a choir from Simsbury to that conference in the future.
So let me stay with you for a second.
Sure.
Lots of school systems over the years have eliminated music altogether, or some offerings that they have. And Simsbury may actually face that this year with budget cuts. Can you explain why you think music is important to keep in the curriculum?
Sure. Well, I can say that I feel that we're very lucky here in Simsbury. I think that the community really supports the arts. And I think the reason, it really fits in with the whole inclusive nature of our programming in that music is for everyone. You talked about the infectious exuberance, to have students making music together. That's an experience that you can't really get in any other place. You can be a performer on your own, but to perform with others, that's what's really special. And we've had experiences where for example, we've sung the song "Let There Be Peace on Earth" after a terrible terrorist attack, and the whole community came together. So I think music has that power to bring people together, and it also kind of unlocks potential in students that might not be successful in the traditional classroom. I really do think that we're going to keep the arts alive and strong, even in light of budget challenges. So I'm not too worried about it, but I think it's always good to advocate and make sure that everybody wants to keep that alive and keep those program offerings strong.
Before we run out of time, Matt, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you had to study in order to become take the job that you have and work with the students you work with.
So I graduated from UConn with my bachelor's and master's in special education. And I took a variety of courses from literacy to math strategies. So we kind of learned strategies for each core subject and how to practice implementing them with a variety of students. The great thing about UConn was I did more internships than I could count. So I've been in a variety of elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. So I was able to kind of compile all of the strategies I learned from each of those schools to help me in Simsbury.
And did you always want to work at the high school level?
Always, yes.
Always.
I like being at the end of the train tracks to help them then fly wherever they want to.
Paula, do you know the Paraeducator Award, who the Paraeducator Award is named after? Did anybody mention that to you?
They did, and it slipped my mind.
Okay, so it's named after Anne Marie Murphy, who was a special
right.
education
Sandy.
paraeducator. Made me think of it when you talked about a terrorist attack, and that. So I was wondering whether you heard about Sandy Hook and whether you knew about her when you were in Newton.
No, well, I didn't know about the. As a matter of fact, I didn't know about her as well, which. Kind of looking back on that, it's a little surprising. Knew about the children and teacher, but I didn't know about her paraprofession.
Well, it's an honor, and they've named it after her. In any case, I did want to get those things quickly in because we've actually run out of time. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone here at SCTV behind the scenes for their help in getting this show on the air, including our camera volunteers, Joe Giordenti and Sam Davidson, and director Joe Galliette. Thanks as well to my three guests, and thank you for joining us. A reminder, thanks to SCTV volunteers, you can actually see the Board of Education meetings live on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Just a reminder, they are now on channel 1070, a new Xfinity channel, as well as on channel 95 and still on Frontier channel 99, and of course they're always online. If you missed any part of this show, you can find it anytime at simsburytv.org. We're going to leave you now with an excerpt of Colleen Thompson singing Be the Change at Convocation at the beginning of the school year, along with teachers and students who joined her. Was it a surprise when the students joined you?
Well, it was a surprise to most teachers, yes.
But not to you?
No, we rehearsed.
I'm Dominique Avery. See you next time for Simsbury School News.
Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. And a change will come to you. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. And a change will come to you. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. And a change will come to you.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.